Afternoon, back to photography. I thought we'd do a quick one on stand development. There's a lot on YouTube, there's a lot on the internet about stand development, and a lot of it sort of says, oh, you've got to be really good at developing before you can try stand. And my way of thinking is actually no, because it's the easiest way to get a predictable or reasonably predictable, reasonably reliable result. I was going to say very quickly, but it's anything but quick. That's the only downside. For stand development, you need the usual kit, which you may or may not have. If you haven't, there will be a link to Silverprint down there in the description, along with 1 or 2 other suppliers, where you can get the stuff you need. Daylight developing tank, my oldest and smallest. Spirals are adaptable. This one is because I picked up the broken one, doesn't matter. You put your film on the spiral, you put the spiral on the column, you put the whole lot in the tank. That's now daylight proof. You can take the lid off, you can pour chemicals in, you can pour chemicals out, and the light will not get in there. You can do that. You don't need a darkroom. You need a changing bag. It looks like a t-shirt. There's nowhere to put your head, so you can't even put small children in it. They come in different sizes. They're quite big, you know, from tiny like this one up to quite big like my other one. You stick your arms in the holes and you can work on your tank and your film in there. It's double skinned. Everything loads through the bottom. You do the zips up. That's light tight. That works well. Got to watch them for light leaks, but generally they're okay. If they're plasticized or rubberized linings, they can be repaired with copy decks. Right, this is actually R09, but it's Rodinol. You can order Rodinol from Silverprint, and you might get Rodinol, you might get R09. Yeah, there's something in there. Something has crystallized out. I'm not worried. That's probably still good, and this is years old. It's probably still good. It's one of the longest lasting developers we know. There have been tests on it where people have found half-used bottles that are 70 years old and still working fine. That doesn't happen with modern developers. This stuff was first patented in 1890 something, I think. It's a 100-year-old chemical design. Brilliant. You need something to get a jug, plastic jug from Wilkinson's. I've got one. I had one here earlier. It's gone now. Plastic jug from Wilkinson's. It's a bit worrying. To mix the stuff in. Syringe, which has also disappeared. You can get a syringe from the local farm supplies because you use minimal amounts of Rodinol. A syringe from your local farm supplier or your local chemist. If you chat them up nicely, they might sell you a syringe, they might not. eBay will sell you anything to anyone, you know, brilliant. And you're pretty well set to go. You need your Rodinol. You don't need a stop bath for stand development with Rodinol because the dilution is massive, and some fixer. Dare I say, yeah, you can use table salt. Don't. Not because it doesn't work. It does work, but it takes hours. I don't know how to make up the table salt fix either, but it takes hours and hours and hours, and you never know whether it's worked properly. Fixer is reusable. It works out as dirt cheap. I've got gallons of the stuff floating around that's fixed goodness knows what, and I haven't had any problems yet. There are ways of testing it. Look it up on the internet. Look up the development procedure to learn how to do the orthodox development. There'll be links to that. Stand development, dilute your Rodinol. 100 parts of water, 1 part of Rodinol. To do a 35mm film in a Paterson tank, you need 300ml of developer. 300ml of water, 3ml of Rodinol. There are sites that say don't do that, it's not enough Rodinol, it won't work. There are other sites that say just do it. Go with just do it. Chuck it all in. Don't bother with 20 degrees C. Go for about 18 degrees. I use boiled water. It's degassed. In the tank with the film. Invert. not quite that fast, nice inversions, and rotating the tank on each inversion. This is the textbook way. Don't. It's not a cocktail. For about 30 seconds, down onto a hard surface with a bit of a slap, lifts the bubbles off the film, and go away and watch The Simpsons. About 2.5 episodes. Or one episode of NCIS with the adverts at the end is about an hour. And it's about an hour. If it goes to 1 hour 10, don't worry. You can't do that with fast acting developers that people go, oh, I developed a film in 2 minutes and it takes 20 seconds to pour the chemicals out of the tank, and you've overdeveloped, drastically overdeveloped. You're looking at an hour. You can be a few minutes out. I've been 20 minutes out and it's made no difference because of the way the process works, which again you can find in other places. I would suggest, because when you start, you want a reliable developer, you want a long-lasting developer because you might not be doing that much, and you want a simple process, rodinal and stand. You get negatives that scan easily. If you have made errors in your exposure of the original film, the original prints, not prints, negatives, it compensates. Because it's a stand process, it compensates. It holds back the highlights from blowing out. And whilst it's doing that, it's building the shadow detail. It becomes a bit low contrast, although I've had hideously high contrast out of it. It's a dead simple way of getting into it. It takes time. That's the disadvantage with the stand development. It takes time. You can push process in this. It works out about an hour per stop. So yeah, if you develop one, if the box speed is 100 ISO, expose at 64. But if it's 100 ISO, 1 hour. If you've exposed it at 200 ISO, 2 hours. If you've exposed it, if you're using 400, if you're using Tri-X or something at 400, 1 hour. 800, 2 hours. 1600, 3 hours. Say 200, 4 hours. That's kind of rule of thumb. You have to experiment a bit on that. But, you know, it means you can watch a feature film whilst your film's developing. It's a brilliant way to go. There are other developers that will also work with stand, and I must get around to trying HC110 because it's another one that lasts forever. That one you can't measure with a syringe because it's like gear oil or honey. It's really thick. Go out to your second-hand local camera junk shop and get a developing tank. Get one off eBay. If you can afford it, you can buy one new. Silverprint, do them. First Call Photographic, do them. I've just got to mention all the second-hand Darkroom supplies, do them. You know, everyone does them. They'll be in the description. I'll put a whole list in the description so no supplier feels left out. And, you know, let us know how you get on. That would be cool. I'll see you all again soon, hopefully when I found it with my 100-year-old Kodak camera, which is brilliant. Bye.